is a spirit hunter blade. I had this. This is a high carbon steel. Had it made for a screenplay I wrote called Spirits of the Hunt. But it's basically a real version of the blade from Young Guns 2, where Lou Diamond Phillips fights in the knife fight with Christian Slater. But everybody likes that one. It had a lot of rust on it. This is Hawaii, and everything rusts. So I got some kind of emery cloth. It's wet, dry sandpaper, and here's like a really big rust blotch. I have to, sand out or polish out, or whatever you want to call it. This is wet sandpaper. So I'm going to do this, and I'm also going to talk about a little bit about this blade and the whole concept behind it. This is one of these super cool, not really practical. Now this blades, but it's not like an everyday carry, obviously. But the one in the Young Guns 2 movie, they had it. It wasn't a real knife. It was just a shiny metal thing that he could spin it around. No way an insurance company is going to let Lou Diamond Phillips, whoever's underwriting the film, they're not going to let him spin this thing around. Would have lost a few fingers or an eye or something. I wouldn't spin it around even if I had not a dull one to practice with. It's just too dangerous. So this is a really fun knife, but it's cool. But it's not an everyday carry. We did have that leather. The knife maker made leather, carrying sheath for it. But it's, I don't know, maybe you could strap it to a horse and it makes sense. But carrying it, I don't think so. So I probably could do better with that. But so I've been polishing it out. Now here is this little Comanche snake sign. It's a sign of the Comanche. It's a snake, curved line. It's a sign of the Comanche. So there's a couple of Indian chiefs I wanted to talk to you about really briefly. You may have heard the name Blackhawk, and it's not just a movie, and it's not just a helicopter, and it's not just the Black Hawk Down. Blackhawk was the chief of the Sauk, and he led the Sauk and Fox against America in the War of 1812. He fought with the British, and he had a chief called, he had a medicine man who was also leading a band of Indians under the authority of the British. Anyway, his name was White Cloud, and he had this magic idea or notion that certain spraying, throwing corpse powder into the fire before the battle, and reciting whatever spiritual things they recited would make Black Hawk impervious to bullets, which obviously wasn't the case, although he didn't die from a wound in battle. Although a lot of people did at the Battle of Bad Axe. There was one battle that the Stillman's Run where they just popped out of the jungle, and the 250 men in the militia just ran for their lives from the Sauk and Fox warriors led by Blackhawk. But the Battle of Bad Axe was the end of this. Here's the plaque at the battle site. Basically, they were trying to surrender after a run. They were ready to give up, and nobody understood their language. And he waved a white flag, and they had basically asked him, "Who are you?" And Sauk or Winnebago, and they said Blackhawk, and they just opened fire. And this is the ship, the Warrior, that opened fire. They were just trying to cross the river and run away, and they didn't let them. It was a massacre, an 8-hour massacre. And here's like an 1840. This is like the 1832, the battle. So I'm not sure. This is like this particular sketch was made in 1840, so it's in the public domain and all. But here's a American soldier coming across a dead Indian and female. They slaughtered the women and children, and this is life cast of Blackhawk. And they used they peeled off, some of the soldiers peeled off skin and used it for knife strops for their razors. They peeled off flesh and used it as stropping, straps. Which I guess that's the way the world was back then. And another chief I'd like to talk to you about a little, who was actually in my screenplay, and Blackhawk wasn't in either. And nobody makes westerns anymore. And although this wasn't really a western, it kind of was. But I won't get too much into screenwriting. But another Indian was that might not know about was Chief Buffalo Hump, and he led the 1,000-mile raid from Linnvile all the way down from the top of Texas down to Linnvile along the coast. And basically, they just kicked everybody's ass all the way down the coast until they got to Linnville. A 1,000-mile raid back then in 1840, that was kind of a big accomplishment. What had happened was there was the Council House Massacre, and Indians are always getting massacred, by the way, in case you don't know American history, the Trail of Tears, and it's basically, anyway, the Courthouse Massacre in old San Antonio, a bunch of Comanche chiefs, not Blackhawk, now we're talking about Comanche, of the different divisions had come down to try and talk peace with the Texicans. And the Texicans found out that there was a white woman captive. Not that any of these particular chiefs had taken, but to the white people, they were all Comanche and they were all the same. Never mind that there were like 30 different Comanche divisions. It's like blaming someone in Texas for something that happened in New Jersey. It's like. Anyway, so they were gonna not let anybody go until they got out of the peace conference, until they got the white women back, which these people did not have or could not even negotiate for, really, and they certainly couldn't do it. So they tried to break out, and they were slaughtered at escaping from the peace conference. And so that was when the 1,000-mile raid got started, and Chief Buffalo Hump was, put in charge, and the Comanches made peace with all the other tribes, the Great Peace. Basically, all the other tribes were always fighting with each other. I mean, the Comanche divisions were fighting with each other, and the Kiowa, all the other Indian tribes around that area were always fighting. But they made this great peace so that Comanche could. They appointed Chief Buffalo Hump, and he could ride straight down from the top of the Panhandle in West Texas all the way down to the coast in Linnville, which was on the map. Basically, they, stole every horse and everything they could find. And there was quite a scene at Linnville on the coast finally. They broke into the women's clothing store and were parading around women's dresses. And all the Comanches were, they had taken over the town pretty much and were burning and looting and pillaging. And all the citizens had gone on to retreated onto a clipper ship, a schooner, a clipper ship off the coast where they could be safe. They laid off the coast till it all blew over, right? And finally, one townsman elder got just pissed off, so he grabbed a rifle, went off the schooner, and started waving it around. We're talking about a musket loader, a one-shot musket loader. Against, several hundred Indians, one guy. So they thought he must have some incredibly powerful magic, and they just gave him a very, very wide berth. Nobody wanted to find out what happened to this raving lunatic with one pistol. And when he got back to the boat, they realized that the thing wasn't even loaded. But anyway, that's one of those funny historical facts that you find out when you do research for a screenplay. You do your background research, and you go overboard. I even have a Comanche dictionary. But anyway, from the Comanche Revitalization Council, and all these old languages are disappearing. It's not easy to keep a language going. It's called dubbing. That's what I used to do. That's how they, like in France and all the European countries. But anyway, back to Buffalo Hump. And they called him Buffalo Hump because apparently, well, you figure it out. Well, I'll tell you. Maybe you can figure out. No, he didn't. It wasn't because of a buffalo. They called him Chief Buffalo Hump because apparently he had a big dick. And that's what his name meant. Poquanawahip was how you pronounce it in Comanche. And means an eruption that never goes down or something like that. Anyway, so that's the story of Buffalo Hump. And I wanted to end with this, what Blackhawk said 4 or 5 months before he died, because I think it's pretty appropriate. And the Indians didn't get a very good deal. They never did. Addressed by Chief Blackhawk, July 4th, 1838, Fort Madison. It has pleased the Great Spirit that I am here today. I have eaten with my white friends. The earth is our mother. We are now on it with the Great Spirit above us. It is good. I hope we are all friends here. A few winters ago I was fighting against you. I did wrong perhaps, but that is in the past. It is buried. Let it be forgotten. Rock River was a beautiful country. I like my towns, my cornfields, and the home of my people. I fought for it. It is now yours. Keep it as we did. It will produce you good crops. I thank the Great Spirit that I am now friendly with my white brethren. We are here together. We have eaten together. We are friends. It is his wish and mine. I thank you for your friendship. I was once a great warrior. I am now poor. I am now old. I have looked upon the Mississippi since I was a child. I love the great river. I have dwelt upon its banks from the time I was an infant. I look upon it now. I shake hands with you. As it is my wish, I hope you are my friends.